Hi, team. Welcome to the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Coming up, Knights of the Fallen Empire class changes for troopers and bounty hunters. But first, SWTOR news and the fun stuff going on in our guild, Alea Iacta Est. Our astromech today is EPC 109, who apparently thinks he's a Mandalorian bounty hunter. Well, Jerkadir, my astromech, which in Mandalorian, of course, means get in the escape pod. With me, as always, is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
I feel the need to explain that is a partial quote from one of the fights in Temple of Sacrifice.
Dirkadir, my warriors.
Yes.
We always say, Dirk, Dirka, 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 my warriors.
Oh, let's see. Things are going really well. My I've been leveling my operative, who was like 59 and a half, so it was not like a huge effort. But she's almost a 60 now. And the one thing I did do though, which I was really inordinately pleased about the result, is I went through her whole inventory. And I know I've talked about this before, but I got rid of everything that I didn't think I was going to wear or use. And I had so much crap in there, just like, helms that I hadn't decided, like at level 50 if I wanted, Surge or Alacrity, so I had them both
Yeah.
or whatever. And I got rid of all that stuff. And now she's got like basically like 4 bank tabs free, and most of her bags are free. So she's ready for Knights of the Fallen. Well, actually, I'm going to do a few more. I might do a few more quests or something, get her to actually 60. But yeah, so that was
there's that
a source
actually
of happiness this week.
getting to level 60, little things like that. She's,
Yeah,
she's level
yeah.
7, but all her inventory is cleared out.
She's level 59.876. Like
Excellent.
one more mandatory fun night would probably do it.
Sounds good.
So that's it for me. What about you, Max? How are you doing?
I've been doing similar things. Still cleaning up my legacy across all characters and doing some of that kind of stuff, cleaning out my inventory in a couple places. I got the bug to do two things this past week and weekend. I wanted to get the McKeb achievements, and on the Republic side, I had a problem. So I finished it on the Imperial side because I had multiple characters that had completed McKeb. On the Republic side, I only had one character that had even completed McKeb and could do the stage weeklies. It was my Vanguard. So
Hmm.
I did it on him, and I had I'd say I had 80% of the achievements done on the Republic side, but I had enough of the achievements where I had to still do 3 weeks of the achievements in order to be able to get, because you have to like do two in order to get the third one to unlock the bonus to get that achievement.
Right.
And I had enough spread out across what leads to each of those bonuses that I basically had to do them all over all again. So with only one character on the Republic side, I didn't want to take 3 weeks. I had a level 55 consular who was one of my characters that I had not taken through McKeb, but also was level 55 and could get experience out of it. So that consular is now level 57, went all the way through McKeb, and also did the stage weeklies. So now I only have to do 2 more missions after reset tomorrow to finish off that achievement on the Republic side.
Did you use the little GSI terminals for McCab
Yes.
on your stage? Yeah,
Yeah. So I
I
use
would
that
have
on my
too, I
stage
think.
because her gear is
Or gear.
not
Yeah,
good,
she's got no gear. Yeah. Right.
which was fine. So it worked out perfectly. And I didn't have to do any of the heroics with her. I did those on my Vanguard, and I have 2 more heroics that I'll do tomorrow. And
Oh,
then,
another thing I did to get ready for nights, I just realized is I went and did a round of dailies on Yavin 4 to get a set of treat gear or, companion gear
yeah,
for my operative as well.
although a lot of people are not doing that to get ready for purposefully avoiding that, since once 4.0 drops, the gear is not going to matter anymore for the companions, unless you like the look of it.
That is very true. It won't matter.
I also got the
Edit
bug
that part out.
after I leveled up. my consular for a little while, I got the bug to continue to level up characters, and I thought, well, 12x XP, might as well take advantage of it. And I got on my Juggernaut, who I had never finished leveling up, and went from level 34 to level 44, mostly this afternoon. I was bored this afternoon, and I cranked through about 8 levels this afternoon. So that character I would potentially be finishing off, and then I'll only have one other low-level character that I'll want to raise through the class stories, and then I have 2 that are between 55 and 60 that I just want to top off. And I should be good for Knights of the Fallen Empire. And I think with that, we can talk about what's in the news this week.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
We mentioned last week we were on the Galactic Gamers Coalition podcast a week and a half ago now. It did get published this past week. It is out there on the feeds in iTunes for Galactic Gamers Coalition. And the raw feed is the raw video of us doing the podcast is still up on youtube.com/newoverlords. So you can get it in all the usual places, which is awesome. It came out pretty well. What else we have, Seema?
Yeah, it's fun. Well, also coming out this week is patch 3.3.2, and the patch notes are already posted, so I can talk about a few things that are in there. There's basically a number of bug fixes, like the GRE Hypergate rest and recharge item can no longer be used during war zones. So maybe that addresses that thing we were talking about where you were in ops where you were making yourself invisible with it.
Yes. Which you still can do, but you can't use it in a war zone to make yourself invisible in a war zone, which is probably good.
Right. So a couple of other little just like minor things, like I guess the Warzone UI now properly states that it's season 6. It must have said season 42 before or something.
Probably.
But they are rolling in some performance optimizations, they say. So that might, hopefully that will help a lot of people who've had like frame rate issues. We'll see. One of the things they did was they say they've improved anti-aliasing, which should give better performance to people on medium settings and better overall image quality to people using very high settings. They've changed little things about how the environment rendering is. They've adjusted character rendering so the characters stand out against the background a little bit more. I wonder what that means really. They've improved how they render shadows. Hopefully that'll give some performance, that seems like it could give a big performance boost. They've improved how they render grass and other greenery. They say they've improved area load times, which I'm kind of excited to see. And they've made general memory improvements, and general frame rate improvements, especially when in a large group of characters. So, you know, this could all be very good stuff. I'm optimistic about it. And then also Bounty Contract Week is starting again this week. So it'll go from early in the morning on the 22nd to early in the morning on the 29th of September.
Yep. And I heard a rumor that in 4.0, those completed bounty contracts may be useful for some additional fun and prizes. So if you haven't done those in a while and you've got some spare time and you're looking to do something, collecting up a couple of those sounds like it will potentially be useful. Let's see, we did get wind of another feature that's being added to 4.0, just a side thing that they decided to mention this week in the dev tracker. They are adding the ability to import and export your key bindings. People have been asking for this for quite a while, so I imagine it's been on their wall of crazy. There'll be a tab in the preferences menu for key bindings to import and export them. They'll be exported to a local XML file, so you'll be able to import and share across all of your characters and share with other friends. You'll just be able to pass those XML files around. If you have a nice set of key bindings that people want to copy, they'll be able to do that. I think it's a good thing. I've got my key binding reset memorized.
Yeah, so do I.
Now, so I start a new character and I only remap 2 bars, but It'll still be
I'll
useful.
be happy to do it with one click instead of several, though.
Right, exactly. It's overdue.
And we just want to mention a couple of things that we mentioned before, just reminders. Subscribe by September 30th to get the Nico Okar Duster Coat. And also that the Community Cantina Tour will be in New York on Thursday, October 8th. And that is the one with the cosplay contest, by the way.
Yes. In Guild news, our ops teams are continuing to chug along. One of our key tanks, who's actually in our Republic ops team on Mondays and our Imperial ops team on Wednesdays, he tanks for both of those groups. He's going to need a few weeks off. He's got a couple side projects for work that he is working on. He's got some cool stuff going on. So both of those teams are going to need a tank to fill in on Monday and Wednesday night for most of the month of October. So if people are looking to join or fill in for a little while or go run with some of our guild, Monday is the Republic Ops team. Sten is one of our officers who's also the leader of that team. You can check it out in the forums. That's the SUP team. And then that's the SOL team. And the SUP team is on Wednesday with Arbachet. Check in on those threads. Let them know that you're interested and you can jump in. I think the SOL team, the Monday Republic Ops team, could use a permanent member. So even when Corley comes back, if you want to stay on, they can either swap out their other tank, which is Sten, who could go back to healing, or if you wanted to stick around and switch to DPS or something like that, you could potentially do that as well. And Lords of Light, Seema and my ops team news, we are still not finished with Brontes. So we did a while last night. We did like not. 2.5 hours of wiping on Brontes with, I don't know why we're streaming it, it's mostly just so guildies can watch and ride along. And we had like 25 people in the chat room watching us wipe on Brontes over and over.
Which we appreciate because they gave us some good tips.
Some
of them were people who knew how to do the fight.
Yes, we did get some tips and pointers, people who talked about how their strategies were. We've been watching videos. We've got it all down except that final burn phase. Well, we typically have it down, and then we get tired after the first couple times, and then we don't even get to the burn phase for this like the whole second hour. I don't know what happens.
Yeah.
But just wipe on the lightning, wipe on the, don't blow up the first robot in that clock phase fast enough, etc. So it's a little frustrating, but we still have fun, and we play Plug DJ, which reminds me, Plug DJ is having some problems. Hopefully they'll be able to hit their funding goal this week and stay up and running. Otherwise, we're going to have some other sort of shared DJ, share music service that we're all going to have to go after.
Yeah, we're going to figure something out, yeah.
If anyone has any tips, if we lose Plug DJ, what we should check out, let us know. Send those in. I'd be very interested to hear. What else we got going on?
And Tuesday this week, we'll be doing our normal mandatory fun night. This week we'll be on the Republic side doing Nightmare Eternity Vault and Karaga's Palace to make sure everyone's got those two achievements. And I believe, are there titles that come with that?
Yeah.
Achievements anyway.
The achievements are legacy. So if you've done them on any of your characters, the Nightmare achievements are legacy. But the titles are per character. So if you want the titles for the timed run, you need to do it on a particular character.
And the reason we're kicking those two out is because those Nightmare versions of those two ops will be gone as of Knights of the Fallen Empire.
Correct.
I gotta think as of the 20th, since that's when pre-release starts.
Yep, I would expect.
I don't know if you'll be able to do them between the 20th and the 27th.
Not the Nightmares. I doubt it. I think it'll be gone.
I doubt it. Yeah, me too.
And finally, want to give a big shout out to the chat room and say thank you to everyone. We'll of course do our cartel pack drawing at the end of the show. I did want to say again thank you to everyone that chimed in and was around for our 2-year anniversary. If you sent me an email for that 2-year anniversary drawing for cartel packs, you should have received your cartel pack already. If you were in the chat room that night, you might want to check your private messages, because I still had about half a dozen people that hadn't replied with a character, server, and faction, so I can get the rest of those off. But again, thanks everyone, and it is really fun having those chat rooms going, both during the ops nights and especially during the podcast. Get comments from everyone. We were chatting it up on what everyone's doing to get ready for Knights of the Fallen Empire and getting good ideas. Speaking of getting ready for Knights of the Fallen Empire, we are hearing that troopers and bounty hunters are going to have some class changes, so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I know that in my class story, one of my favorite parts was bounty hunter confronting a Jedi Knight trying to do a mind trick on him, and it sounded a little something like this.
You will drop your weapons and surrender to me. You will realize what a complete idiot you are.
You.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I love failed mind tricks. Those are always good. So Mercenary Commando on Bounty Hunter, and in Trooper we have Power Tech Vanguard. These are my mains. Mercenary, well, which is basically also Commando, and then Vanguard, Power Tech, I play both on a regular basis, mostly tanking. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we like and don't like about these classes, and the history of these classes and what they do. And Seema, I know you've healed on these classes, so you can certainly talk about that as well.
Right. The Merc is my, yeah, it's my main right now. I've been healing on her since the beginning of this, Shadow of Revan.
I think at launch, I think I played, I'd say my main was Vanguard for probably about the first 9 months or a year, maybe about 9 months. And then we switched over and we started doing both Republic and Imperial ops. And then we switched over to mostly Imperial ops. So now I mostly just play my Mercenary for serious PvE content, but still switch over to my Vanguard on a regular basis, like for mandatory fun nights. I've done a lot of PvP with both classes. Back in the day at launch for a long time, I PvP'd a lot on my Vanguard, enough to get him to Valor rank 90, 100, 90, I think 90. And got a lot of the old school gear back in the day, and then I've PvP'd some on my Mercenary, but not a lot, especially after 3.0, because Mercenaries just didn't hold up all that well in PvP. So I'll still go back and PvP on my Vanguard now. I've switched over to mostly PvPing on my Sork, just because I find that really fun in non-ranked, just in the 8v8 war zones. But I really like, these are my favorite classes. Trooper and Bounty Hunter both, because I'll even mirror my bars and all my abilities in my builds, just so I can switch back and forth. And now I'm sharing gear between my Power Tech and Vanguard and between my Mercenary and Commando. So I'll play them both equally the same. I'm not switching. So both my Power Tech and Vanguard right now are tanks, and I don't have an end level DPS set. But I do like Vanguard and Power Tech DPS as well. So the difference between those from a DPS perspective, yeah, go ahead, Seema.
I was going to say it can come in handy to have a DPS with a taunt.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, that's the difference between Mercenary and Power Tech on the Bounty Hunter side. Mercenary is range DPS, and Power Tech is more of a it's mostly melee range, mostly melee DPS, because you can be stepping out. You can do a lot of sort of mid-range DPS, but you typically have to step in depending on what specs you're in. But you get that little bit extra of the tanky type abilities on the Power Tech and Vanguard that can be helpful in a lot of PvE scenarios. The ability to taunt in particular, which we do not have on our ops team right now, do we?
Right. Nope.
We used to do that back in the day. I mostly played Power Tech or Vanguard when we were doing PvE content, and every once in a while being able to taunt something off or have a third taunt in the ops group was quite useful. So who knows? Maybe in 4.0 I'll go back to PowerTech Vanguard. It's just been difficult in 3.0 with the way the fights were arranged to really be in melee range. I had much higher DPS with similar gear on my mercenary because I could just be outside of all the effects. I didn't have to keep running in and out. You imagine the big red circles underneath the boss, and then you're running out and you're trying to get back in, and you're a little bit slow to get back in, and that's maybe going to be fixed to get a little bit more mobility in Knights of the Fallen Empire. But I really do like both of them when I don't have to worry about all those 3.0 boss mechanics and Ravagers and Temple of Sacrifice. I did still really like the Vanguard and PowerTech for DPS as well. And then for tanking, I like them. How about for healing, Seema?
Well, I mean, I really like the mercenary healing, the mercenary commando healing. I've played all three classes a lot in Ops at various times in the course of Star Wars: The Old Republic, and they all have their sort of their ins and outs. But I like the mercenary. It's good. It has a good way of healing someone up a lot in the clutch if your cooldowns are up or if your abilities are up. But it doesn't have anything exciting to me like force speed or a grapple or anything like that. So maybe this new ability, which we're going to talk about, will help that. Or like the operative has stealth. Nothing.
Right.
It's just very, sort of vanilla healing, just healing. But I do like it. It's more relaxed in a way than healing on the operative Scoundrel, which you're hitting your abilities a lot because you have a lot of instants. And on this, there's a few abilities that have a cast time, so that allows you to do things like type quit things in guild chat or whatever. It's also challenging in movement heavy fights, not because you're limited. I mean, you're still a very mobile class. All the healing classes right now have good mobility, but your heavy duty cooldown for increasing your heals, basically what it does is it removes that cooldown removes the cooldown from your big heal, and your big heal has a long cast. So during that cooldown, you really want to be able to stand still because you want to be casting your long cast over and over and over and over again to take advantage of your cooldown. And that is not great for movement heavy fights. You're wasting your cooldown every time you have to take a step, in other words. So, but if I end up playing my Merc/Commando in the next X-Pack, I won't be unhappy. I like it. So I'm trying to decide if I'm going to switch over to Sorc Sage. I guess stay tuned.
Right. So we have not yet seen the full listing of what the Sorc Sage are getting for their class update. But now,
right,
from what you've seen so far between the operative updates and the mercenary updates, which would you say, if all things were equal and, Sten would, would do whatever you told him, which would you pick?
I don't know. I think between operative and Merc, I would still pick Merc.
Okay. All right, interesting. And then as far as tanking goes, I like to tank on them. I've tanked quite a bit on an Assassin, and I've tanked on Vanguard and PowerTech. Vanguard PowerTech. I like the Vanguard PowerTech tanking myself, just personally, quite a bit better than the Assassin tanking. The Assassin needs to use active abilities. There's a little bit more passive defense. You're wearing heavy armor. You've got a little bit more control over your cooldowns, so you don't have to keep buffs up on yourself. Gives you a little bit more opportunity to be focused on fight control, which I like on the PowerTechs and Vanguards. I think the AoE of taking large groups of mobs and controlling them is a little bit better on the assassin, and I did like that, and I appreciated that. But I really like just in general power attack Vanguard tanking better. I have not tanked on a Juggernaut or Vanguard or a Guardian or a Juggernaut yet, so I'll have to see. I could take a look and try those out. If I get my Juggernaut that I said I was leveling up to 60, I could give it a shot and see what it feels like, and make a judgment call. And what about the class stories, Seema? You like them? You like them both? Yeah. Trooper, Bounty Hunter?
Yeah. I wasn't in love with the Bounty Hunter class story. I mean, now that you remind me, I was not. I know a lot of people love the Great Hunt part of the story. And I don't know. I just wasn't into the whole killing for money thing.
You're not bloodthirsty enough. I think the Great Hunt
really,
part...
if I had my druthers, I would be playing on the pub side.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, and I really liked the Trooper story.
Trooper story was so...
And I know...
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like the Trooper story because it's so generic hero, but I think that's what I do like about it.
I really like the Trooper story. I'd say Trooper story is right up there for a nominee for top class story in my view. It was part of it was the first class I took to end level, and I finished the class story on was Trooper. And it was funny. At launch, I first rolled a mercenary, a bounty hunter. And I played the bounty hunter up until probably like level 25 or 30. And I just did not like the Empire. They pissed me off. They were just mean and bad, and I didn't like it. So I switched over and I went Republic. And I really liked the feel of the Trooper story. And it really impressed me, especially at launch, how they could take the mercenaries and the troopers and make them feel epic enough that you were fine with not being a lightsaber wielder. You were fine with not being a Jedi, which I thought was amazing. It was amazing that they were able to do that. And then I really liked the Trooper storyline from just being that trooper, that soldier hero, and I played it all light side, and honor, and you're a hero and you're a leader and you lead your troops into battle, and especially how the sort of the class story wraps up on Corellia. I just think that flowed really well. It made a lot of sense. It hung together really well. I really liked it.
Me too.
Bounty Hunter, as you said, I think the Great Hunt is the best part. So chapter 1 is the best part of the Bounty Hunter story. I was fine with the rest of it too. I still really like being a bounty hunter and like playing the bounty hunter stuff, and I would play the bounty hunter class story again. In fact, I think I have most of it on another character. Oh, well, the power tech. So I leveled both of those guys up. I thought I did it twice, at least. I liked it, and I'll continue to do it, and I like the continuing storyline, so that's good. Let's talk about what's happening in Knights of the Fallen Empire. Do you want to do
yes, let's.
A rundown of... Well, I'll do the rundown of Power Tech Vanguard, and then you can do the rundown of Mercenary Commando, and we can mix and match our thoughts on both of them.
We can meet in the middle.
So Power Tech Vanguard, their key ability is Jet Charge Storm. The one thing that we're seeing as a new ability that everybody is getting is, in order to give more ability to Power Techs and Vanguard to our DPS and not tanks, they are getting Jet Charge Storm added to their ability list as well. It's not coming till level 61, but all Power Techs and Vanguards of any spec now get Jet Charge Storm, which is your leap at level 61.
Right. I was just going to leap in there and say that.
Leap in and say it's a leap?
It's not as cool as Force Leap, but at least does get you in there.
It's pretty cool. Well, on the Bounty Hunter, it's pretty much like a Force Leap.
Is it? I've only done it on my
on the
my little Vanguard.
On the Vanguard, it's more like a run in there really fast.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's awesome. That's going to give more mobility to those classes. As we said, I was having a little bit of a problem after 3.0 with just that mobility, having to run out, not having a gap closer when I'm DPSing on a Power Tech or Vanguard. Now being able to have that ability. In fact, when I was leveling up my Vanguard and taking him through, the McKeb, I was doing the McKeb dailies and the stage weekly. And I thought, well, should I respect a DPS just to make this faster? And then I decided not to, just so I could still have, Storm, and I could still be leaping into battle. So I really like the ability to able to do that.
What kind of a cooldown is that on?
Relatively short cooldown. It's not. So I think it's maybe 30 seconds, and maybe you can get it down to 25 seconds with a utility. I'm not positive now, but it was relatively short. Not as short as the Force Sleep on my Juggernaut, which now with a utility, as soon as I leave combat, it resets the cooldown on the Force Sleep. I noticed with this utility I just got around level 40 or whatever, which that's pretty cool, because then it's always ready to go when I'm just for leveling for PvE content. Kill some mobs, finish the fight, I can immediately Force Sleep to the next group. That's pretty cool. Let's see. We are also getting a new ability. So, one quick thing. There is some controversy. People don't know yet, and it's not clear. They said all Power Techs and Vanguards will get Jet Charge and Storm at level 61. They did not make it clear whether or not this is going to impact the current tank specs for Power Techs and Vanguards, and if those specs will not be getting it until level 61, which would be a drawback for those tank specs not being able to have that gap closer until level 61. Currently, you get it really early if you're choosing the tank spec. What I hope is the tanks still get it early, and the DPS specs get it at level 61. That's what I'm hoping. We need clarification from the devs on that. The new ability, Translocate Transpose, is the other new ability that we're getting for the tank specs. So Shield Tech and Shield Specialist get the ability to click on a friendly player and switch places with that player. You drop their aggro, and you give them the ability to not be leapt to or pulled. You give them a little bit of immunity to interrupts, and that's on a 90-second cooldown. And so basically you jump in there, and if somebody gets aggro or a boss gets on them, you can swap to them and take the aggro off of them. Looks interesting. I think it's going to be extra useful in PvP, but it'll still be relatively useful in PvE. What do you think of that one, Seema?
Okay. Well, I think it's going to be really situational.
Yeah.
Because I think that those times where you could use it because someone has somehow gotten threat, you're going to have to react so quickly before that person uses their threat dump or they get killed or whatever. I don't know.
What about for tank swaps?
Well, but I don't know if it's the kind of tank swap where you definitely want to lower the threat of the other tank.
Now I'm reading it again, and it doesn't actually say threat, but most tank swaps you are swapping threat, because you're taunting one and they're taunting the other one.
They say are ignored by most enemies.
Until
I wish they would just say what they mean instead of trying to make it, I don't know, RP or something.
Yeah. Benign presence ignored by most enemies. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. To me that means, yeah.
So if I think of like the Walker fight in Temple of Sacrifice, if you were doing a tank swap there, and you have a Vanguard and they can just translocate with the other tank, and you guys are immediately in opposite places, and then you both just taunt the new Walker that you're on, that seems like that could be an interesting mechanic. So we'll see.
Yeah. To me that, yeah, maybe. I mean, in that particular example, you don't actually have to swap places. You can just taunt the other one and stay where you are. Anyway.
In story mode, I think in Nightmare you still have to,
Oh.
or in hard mode or whatever. Like we're a little, we're in story mode now. Like in the beginning, we had to, and then we didn't have to anymore in story mode when we when we were turned into hot stuff. got the rest of our gear up and that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to this kind of stuff, seeing how it does play out.
Right. We also saw, as we saw with the other classes, all of the abilities are getting spread out a little bit more. You're only getting, so like Oil Slick, for example, happens now at level 42 instead of level 41, and Ion Storm, Firestorm happens at 58 instead of 57. Again, they're trying to stretch out your abilities across from 1 to 65 now instead of 1 to 60. So we're seeing that happen. And then we're also seeing that they added a couple new passives, and that again relate to your core abilities for your class, and a couple utilities that again match up with what you want to be doing for both DPS and tanking. So you can look them up. So there's the sticky, whatever the sticky thing is that slows the mobs when you do a neural dart, etc. You still have the ability to, what else did they do with hydraulic overrides? They increased the base cooldown of hydraulic overrides because they're giving these new translocate, transpose abilities, and they're giving jet charge and storm to power techs and vanguards. They increased the cooldown on hold the line and on hydraulic overrides, and then the Iron Will utility talent in tier 1 will reduce that cooldown by more than it would have normally, but not down to what it was. The reason they say they're doing that is, again, just to balance the movement. You won't need hydraulic overrides as often, and they didn't want to overdo the mobility of the class. That's probably more of a PvP balance than anything else. So the cool new ability for shield spec is that translocate, transpose. The cool new ability for pyrotech, advanced prototypes for DPS, vanguards, and power techs is you basically get jet charge and storm, and you get the leap.
Yeah.
So how about mercenary commando?
So for Mercenary Commando, the cool new ability is the same in all respects, which is called Rocket Out or Propulsion Round.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a specially designed propulsion round to launch yourself backwards 20 meters, during which time you are immune to controlling effects and you cannot be immobilized or hindered. And actually this ability has a 20-second cooldown, so it's up a lot.
Right.
I'm kind of fascinated by it. I wish it wasn't backwards. I don't get why it has to be backwards. The first thought I had was that it would be good for, you know how in Corruptor Zero he puts on that giant red circle that everyone has to get out of? That would be your one button I win for that red circle.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't think of that many fights where I wanted to be 20 meters behind me, instantly. So I can see where it'd be useful, just like any kind of blink type ability where you can get someplace very fast. It's just going to be trickier to use because of the backwards aspect.
I think it will be a little tricky.
I anticipate going off the edge of a few things.
And also 20 meters isn't all that much. So that's one criticism I've seen of this. The place where it's definitely very useful is PvP. You need some sort of, you're a ranged class, you keep getting, you're getting leapt to. Your ability to jump back while you're still facing your target and still shooting them while you jump backwards is useful. Again, 20 meters isn't very much though. So especially when you think of Power Tech Vanguard, who in 15-meter range can still hit you with their Ion Pulse. Or is it 10 to 15?
I guess that mostly healing affects my, idea about that because I don't care if I'm facing my target.
Not even for... Huh, okay. So you do not have to face your targets for any of your healing abilities?
No, I don't. I mean, some things you do kind of have to face a target, but the ability itself will turn you around to face the target.
Okay.
So I never have to turn around to heal somebody. I can just be whatever orientation I am.
So, but then you can't turn around to run away. Like if you're in PvP and there's somebody coming after you, if you turn around to run away, then you cannot heal somebody else, so you can't get a cleanse off. So again, a PvP healer is probably going to, get some use out of that. So we'll see.
Well, I mean, I could turn around and run away and still be cleansing someone or healing them, as long as something I could do on the run.
Oh, so you can cleanse behind. So there's nothing that you can't do while you're running away facing them?
There's nothing that I can't do while I'm not facing them. There's a couple of abilities that will turn you around and sort of make you face them, but those kinds are usually the ones that you can't do running anyway. I mean, you have to they make you stationary, like channeled things.
Interesting.
But yeah, cleanses and hots and anything instant cast, usually you do not have to be facing the target.
The one other scenario, which I'm really looking forward to getting some use out of this, is seeing where I can put my character, where I can get myself up to places and into cracks and up on top of things that I'm not supposed to be on. And I'm going to be playing with that quite a bit. I'm hoping that you go upwards just a little bit, so that maybe even like if I jump and then do it, that I'll even go like higher up, so see what I can do with it. So what else did we get?
I mean, I can see where if you get good at it, you could use it like when you're running back from wipes and stuff like that. Just turn and shoot backwards, turn and keep running. I could see where people could get good at. Not me, but other people could get good at that.
Yeah, you'll have to like get good at like a jump shot. You have to like jump, turn in the air, and hit it so that you then sprint ahead of the operative that rolled.
Yeah. Okay, so there's for Vanguard and Pyrotech, there's new passive skills. Mostly, if I just concentrate on Bodyguard, Combat Medic for a second, which is the healing spec, mostly they're around giving a small boost to either healing or a boost to healing. So for instance, the new passive skill, which is called Peacekeeper or Frontline Medic, increases healing done by Kolto Missile and Bomb or Progressive Scan successive treatment by 5% each. And those are the two AoEs that a Mercenary Commando has.
Oh, nice.
One is the instant AoE and one is the channeled kind of roaming AoE. And like in all the other classes, things are being moved around. So they're taking Kolto Shell and Trauma Probe, which is the little bubble that you precast. That it's not a bubble like the Sork Sage one that absorbs damage. What it does is it heals you when you take damage, and that's going to be trained at level 2 up from 41, level 42 up from 41. That channeled roaming AoE I was talking about is going to be at 58 up from 57. These things don't really matter that much, I don't think.
No. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you're going to be 57 for like an hour.
Right.
And most of us, I mean, if you're really addicted to these things, it's because you're doing ops anyway, and then you're probably 60. But,
right.
Then the discipline Kolto boosters, which we have now at 59, is going to be at 60. This basically just reduces the heat that's generated by Kolto missile, but the big part of it is it takes Kolto shot and med shot, which is an instant small heal, and makes them vent heat, and that is basically or gain focus. That is basically a big part of your regen. So
makes sense.
Want to get that back as soon as possible, but still, one level is nothing.
So they're continuing that theme of all of the passives, sort of tuning up what each of
Yeah.
the specs is good at, which makes sense. I like that.
Let's see. So for Arsenal Gunnery, which is one of the DPS specs for Mercenary Commando, there's a new passive skill called Honed Lock or Supercharged Barrel, and it increases crit chance of rail shot, and let's see. Oh, it also rapid scan and medical probe by 3%, which is interesting.
Which we don't use very much.
I wouldn't think.
No, that's just
that is
you know, like
channeled,
off heal once in a
a
while.
very small heal, especially in a DPS spec. I would imagine that'd be a very small.
Right.
Small heal. And other various things that are moved around, just like in all the other specs we talk about, but it's such a minor move. I don't think we need to like call those out individually. And then on the other DPS spec, which is called Innovative Ordnance or Assault Specialist or Innovative Ordnance, getting a new passive skill called Surging Shots or Boosted Bolts. And that's going to affect your periodic damage in a good way. So basically the same thing, all right, where I guess IO is more the dot-based spec, and Arsenal Gunnery is more of a nuke type spec.
Yep.
They're trying to up the different types of damages for those two specs. And then also moving the levels around a little bit by that minor amount.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
in utilities, to get one new utility in the skillful tier, which is tier 1, tier 2, one new utility, and tier 3, another new utility. So one new utility in each of those tiers, just like every other class.
Yeah, the only new utility that seemed to be important was the heroic ability Smokescreen. When you do your rocket out or propulsion round and you do that little jump backwards 20 meters, you take that utility and it makes you immune to being leapt to or pulled for 4 seconds, and it gives you ability activation pushback.
I can totally see in PvP
in
where
PvP. That's what I mean.
it's kind of a standoff, and it's like whoever gets it off first. If you get your leap back off before the other guy gets his grapple off, then his grapple falls on deaf ears, so to speak. So you win.
Yep, exactly. So all in all, I think it's interesting. I do like getting the storm and the leap on the Vanguard power tech in all of the DPS classes, and that's fine. That's fine to me as that being the ability that you get there. And then I'm interested to see how this jump back, get back, jump back skill works.
What was it you said the other day in Ops, that they should make it so that you your special skill that you fall into a pit backwards and you're firing both your pistols or something?
Oh no, that was the you know how the Emperor at the end of a spoiler Star Wars Episode 6, everybody like falls down a hole and the Emperor's like shooting lightning. So that's what Spherix wanted for his Inquisitor as some
right.
epic ability, is you fall backwards down you know, like a pit opens at your feet and you'll fall backwards down, but you still like shoot lightning out at your enemies as you fall down. Yeah, that would be cool. That's how all the major bad guys die, is they fall down holes.
So it's funny because we mentioned it last week, but on my operative this week, I did that quest on Rishi that they were talking about, where you get that shot of you slow walking away from an explosion. It was awesome.
Yes, that is quite awesome. I need to dig up my recording of that and put that on the web, because that's epic. Almost as epic as doing a mind trick on a Jedi and telling him he's an idiot.
You realize what an idiot you are.
So that is it for Trooper Bounty Hunter. We still have Inquisitor Consular that will be coming next week, and we are going to be seeing the live stream. I think next week we may end up talking about the live stream and save Inquisitor Consular for the following week. So we'll have to see how that goes. So we should have a little bit more news over the course of the next week or two on Knights of the Fallen Empire, and I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
But with that, our little EPC 109 droid here can jerkadeer himself right into the escape pod to broadcast this episode. Thanks to all of you for
my astromech.
Thanks to all of you for joining us on newoverlords.com, iTunes, YouTube, or live on Twitch. We will stream again next Monday night on twitch.tv/newoverlords, somewhere around 10:30 p.m. Central. Please follow us on Twitter @MaxTheGray and @AIESEMA. And certainly please find us on a Jedi Covenant and ask us for an AIE Guild invite. We would love to have you. And we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.